Good afternoon. I'm Assistant Sheriff Dory Corn with the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. I'm here today to provide additional details on an officer-involved shooting that occurred this past Saturday, March 22nd, 2025. Please note we're still early into the investigative process, so the details that we have today may change as we continue the investigation and make more progress. This is the second officer-involved shooting of this year, both of which were fatal. At the same time, in 2024, we had 3 officer-involved shootings. The initial 911 call regarding this particular event was reported as a suicidal person call at the 6100 block of Allen Cove Court. You can see a map to my left of where the scene took place. The officer involved in this incident is Larry Jones. He is 27 years old and has been with LVMPD since 2019. He is currently assigned to our Summerlin Area Command, which is a part of our Community Safety Division. Officer Jones was armed with a .223 caliber rifle equipped with an optic. The investigation revealed he fired 1 round. The suspect involved in this officer-involved shooting was identified as Robert Finello. He was 68 years old, 5'6", 175 pounds. Finello was armed with a Taurus .357 revolver, model 605. The firearm had 1 spent cartridge and 4 live rounds in the cylinder. You can see a photo of the firearm to my left. The following are Finello's charges had he survived: 1 count of domestic violence battery with substantial bodily harm, victim over 60. 3 counts of assault with a deadly weapon on a police officer, and discharging a firearm where a person may be in danger. I'll go into the details of the incident now. On March 22nd, 2025, at approximately 1:52 p.m., LVMPD received a call for service from the suicide hotline, reference a suicide male near the 6100 block of Allen Cove Court. The suicide hotline operator stated they received a call from a male, later identified as Robert Finello, who said he had loaded a .357 Magnum and was threatening to shoot himself. The call also said that Finello told her that he'd been beating his wife for the past 2 days and that he had not slept. Due to the details provided, the call was classified as a STAR de-escalation protocol, and we sent 1 sergeant and 3 officers to the call. The suicide hotline operator continued to speak with our 911 operator, and they advised us that Finello was not willing to put the gun down and that his wife was in the garage of the residence with him. As officers arrived, a gunshot could be heard coming from inside the residence. Finello then told the suicide hotline operator that he was the one who fired the gun and that he was getting impatient with how long it was taking officers to arrive to the scene. We will now play body-worn camera video from Officer Jones as he arrives and as he hears a gunshot coming from the residence.
So throughout the scene, the young arrives at that one type of thing, and I guess it's the light of the deploy rifle. And throughout the 2 TVs, just be advised, just give us a red. I just heard a gunshot just come from the front of the residence.
As you can see in this video, due to the nature of the call and the details that Finello had already fired a round into the air, Officer Jones deployed his rifle, and he, along with another officer, made their way to a house directly across the street from Finello's residence. They positioned themselves on the 2nd floor of this house and began giving updates over the radio. As additional officers were arriving, they could see Finello on the street in front of his residence and confirmed that he did have a firearm that he was holding. The sergeant began establishing an immediate action team with less lethal options to attempt to make contact and to attempt to de-escalate the situation by asking him to drop the firearm, which he refused to do. A short time later, Officer Jones observed Finello quickly raise his firearm, during which point it posed a threat to the officers that were attempting to speak with him. Officer Jones then discharged 1 round from his firearm, striking Finello, causing him to fall to the ground. Officers in the immediate action team then approached Finello, safely took him into custody, and immediately called medical personnel to respond. Finello was transported to UMC Trauma, where he was later pronounced deceased. We will now show you a neighboring home surveillance video of Finello, which shows that he was armed with a firearm. In addition to this video, we'll show you another video from Officer Jones' body-worn camera In this video, the glare from the sun in the top left corner blocks some of the view, and also the window seal blocks some of the view. But you can see here, an officer describing the situation and describing his threat perception before he is forced to use deadly force.
Yeah, just let him know, it's in his hand. Shots fired, he raised it at him. No, he raised it towards him. Control 2 over 2 TV, it's going to be shots fired by police, break. Subject raised the revolver towards that immediate action team that's positioned directly north. All officers go for it.
This concludes the formal portion of this briefing. I'll just end by saying that these events are always tragic. In particular, in this case, the suspect had severely beaten his wife for 2 days before we were even aware of the situation. And it's just a harsh reminder of the dangers of domestic violence, which is the leading cause of murders in our valley. And we've done a lot. We've made a lot of progress in trying to reduce murders, and we've been successful in 2024, 23% reduction, in 2023, a 35% reduction. But clearly, there's still a lot of work to be done and a lot of domestic violence incidents that we're still trying to get ahead of. But with that, I have some time. I can take some questions. I'll just remind everyone that, again, this is still early into the investigative process, so we have limited information. Yes, please. She is still in the hospital recovering. Her injuries were pretty serious. For her privacy, obviously, we don't want to release too much of that until she's able to communicate with us, but she was severely beaten. Yes?
Is Officer Jones still on state administrative leave at this time?
Yes, the officer is on administrative leave at this time.
Did his father have a history of like mental health issues or anything like that?
We're always concerned when these types of situations happen about the mental health component. You've heard Sheriff McMahill talk about his priorities of trying to address mental health, homelessness, and addiction as well in the community, which leads to a lot of this type of, a lot of crime and a lot of these types of incidents. In this case, we're still early into determining the background of the suspect. I can tell you, obviously, he did call the suicide hotline, so we do believe he was suicidal and making those types of threats. So I think it's fair to say that there was a mental health component we are looking at. Yes, ma'am.
Just to go into that mental health aspect, how is the officer's mental health being, like going, just to reiterate that he's never even beat the decisions and so how is his mental health?
I appreciate the question, and just for everyone else so they can hear the question, how is the officer doing in terms of their mental health, and that these are very difficult situations to deal with. That question means a lot to us, even just the fact that you ask it. And for the community, they know how important it is to keep our cops healthy, not just from a physical perspective, but from a mental perspective as well. The sheriff has made it a priority to focus on wellness, not just because it's important to take care of the officers that serve our community, but because if we take better care of those cops, they take better care of our community. So it is a top priority for this agency to continue to build upon our wellness programs for our police officers. And this particular incident is a good reminder of the challenges they face. We are obviously closely monitoring this officer and providing a variety of resources to him and his family as well. I mean, I think people forget our cops are human beings. Many of them have wives or husbands, they have children, they have other types of family members, and they're affected by these types of situations too. So we are providing a all-around approach to try to assist his family and him. Time for one more question, and then we'll have to conclude. Yes?
For clarification, was he pronounced dead at the hospital or the scene?
So the question was he pronounced dead at the hospital or at the scene? He was transported to the hospital. He's pronounced at the hospital, but we'll get back to you if that is inaccurate. The last update I had was he was transported and pronounced at the hospital. We will provide that in our comments press release, but I'll just quickly, if I can get to it, it's Fanello. With that, I appreciate your time. Thank you for your questions, and we'll follow up when we have more information.